Okay. Next, we have the honor of introducing to you a very special family who's been a part of UGA Miracle for a while now.
Everyone, please take a seat and turn your attention to the stage as we get to hear from the James family.
Hey, y'all. How you feeling?
Good.
I'm Aaron James, and that is my older brother, Ricky James, and this is my mom, Shelly James. And today, she and I are going to be telling you the amazing story of my big brother.
Hey. All right, I have a question for y'all. Who's first dance marathon with us? Okay, so you've not heard that story. And that's a lot more than it usually is. So dance marathons, I found out this when we got up here that it is 28 years. This is your 28th. This is our 14th.
Woo!
And Ricky got to attend one dance marathon in 2010. And back then, y'all were a little bit smaller. There were 2 bounce houses, corners, and I mean big slides that took up like that whole space back there. And we were the green color group. And back and forth, that's all you saw were these green streaks. It was the 1-year-old and the 4-year-old. And they were wild jobs. So Erin is 15 now, and she has been coming here every year. So if you get lost or anything, she can probably show you where things are. Okay, so we've got Sydney, and I'm going to screw up your name, M.
Marquila.
Thank you. Our family tales this year, and we have been through a lot of family tales. We are with the red color group because that was Ricky's favorite color. Yay! And I think it was probably about, 4 or 5 years ago. We were really close with the execs, and we were all at the lake for Ricky's birthday. And they told us that they were putting it in the bylaws because they wanted to put me in a different color group, and I protested. So they were putting in the bylaws that you are always in red, so we'll always be a red color group, which is great because I got lots of red. Okay, so April 1st, 2007. Never been a big fan of April Fool's Day? Do not screw with me on April Fool's Day. That was the day Ricky was diagnosed. I was 4.5 months pregnant with Aaron. Ricky had been basically pooping pebbles. He was 22 months old on that day. So, leading up to it for about 2 or 3 days, pooping pebbles, constipated, irritable. And I took him to a not children's hospital, not Children's Miracle Network hospital, and they basically dismissed us. So about 8 hours later, screaming uncontrollably, I called the nurse hotline. They told me to give him an over-the-counter enema, and he shot out blood. So I rushed him to Children's Scottish Rite. Within minutes of us walking in the door, they grabbed Ricky from me and drained 300 cc's of urine from his bladder. I meant to bring a beaker, but that's like that much in a beaker. And he was 22 months old. His father was up in Virginia with his family. I was 4.5 months pregnant with the princess, and really huge and tired. By myself. I had an acquaintance, and I wasn't even good friends with this woman at the time, but a neighbor who helped me out and went with me to the hospital. We're great friends now. Kind of happens when you're with someone and they get devastating news. About 3 hours into it, they had tried a bunch of different treatments, and they finally came in and they said, Mrs. James, Ricky's got something blocking his rectum. That child picked up everything he could find. So I figured it was a quarter, let's get rid of it. I'm tired, my feet are swollen, my stomach's out to here, I want to go home. We would love to, there he is over there. We would love to, but we believe he has cancer. It is a part of his body, and we believe it's rhabdomyosarcoma. That was one of her first words, rhabdomyosarcoma. It is a soft muscle tumor that attaches to whatever, organs. It's a cell-based cancer, so it takes multiple cells until it's even detected. In Ricky's case, he was actually born with it. And we did not discover it until his tumor was 6.3 centimeters and blocked his rectum. We were very blessed that it grew in the direction that it did. At that age, your abdominal cavity is a vast empty space. So had his tumor grown in a different direction, it would have been the size of a basketball before we ever found it. Because of the way it did grow, and it was attached to his prostate. It was blocking his rectum, causing the pooping pebbles. So, little silver lining, I guess. We immediately were admitted into AFLAC, where we spent 12 days as the first time. Got our port, set up our plan, got familiar with what was going to become the next 3 years of our life. Ricky went on a treatment plan that, I think we were mostly outpatient. I think like every 2 or 3 weeks we'd go inpatient for a few days. And you'll have to forgive me because this was like, 15 years ago? So things are starting to get fuzzy. Not everything. So the first year of treatment was not that hard on us. It took some adjusting time-wise, but it wasn't that hard. Ricky finished his treatment. Everything was rosy, we thought. 2 months into, so after that, 3 months later, you're going to get your scans. We finished in February. And in April, I knew something was wrong. And I told them his cancer was back, and they told me it was not. And I said, well, let's do scans and prove me wrong. Please, I wanted to be wrong. Mother's intuition is a real thing. They kept telling me they couldn't do the scans because insurance wouldn't let you. I worked for my insurance company, and I actually worked for the medical director. So I got my scans. And Ricky's cancer was back. And this time it had attached to his prostate and his bladder. So Aaron was actually born during all this time in August before we finished that treatment. Joa made it so easy for me to have both my children with me. They would bring in a crib from the NICU on all of Ricky's scheduled visits, and from the time Aaron was 3 weeks old, she stayed at the hospital with us for every inpatient visit that Ricky had. So then we went through the period of relapse, and we knew at this point we had to make a decision. Rhabdomyosarcoma is extremely aggressive and rare. It affects 350 to 400 children in the world. So we drew that lottery straw, and now we had to face what we were dealing with. So we opted to do a more aggressive chemo and radiation. So Ricky began that process, and Aaron was born while we were going through the radiation. And what was it, 3 days? He had 4 radiation treatments left. So my parents came into town. My mom had dropped everything and moved here with us. And I just totally got our whole story backwards. Our first round, we did do the radiation the first time. Yeah, because that's when you came along. I'm saying I told you things get fuzzy. So Ricky did 28 days of 50 grade adult strength radiation on his private area for his prostate. Aaron was born on a Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, my mom took him down there. She came home from the hospital on Saturday, and Monday morning, she got up. We all went down to Winship Cancer Center, and I carried Ricky in for his last radiation treatment 3 days after a C-section. It was awesome. Then we realized. And at that point, radiation was not an option because he basically had everything cooked. At that point, they were telling me they thought he was sterile. They didn't know if he'd ever be able to have children, all things I could have lived with because I had my boy. I will tell you a funny story because we're all adults here for the most part. We were at Walmart one day. Ricky was sitting in the cart, and I had Aaron there, and he's sitting there, and he starts giggling. I said, Ricky, what is so funny? And he's playing with himself and telling me he can feel it. Now, most mothers would be mortified. I'm calling my mother. I'm calling his father. I'm like, Ricky's playing with himself and giggling. And we thought it was hysterical. The woman in the aisle at Walmart thought it was a little crazy. But yeah, so we couldn't do radiation again, so we opted for a more intense chemo. We went on our fabulous Make-A-Wish trip to Disney, which could never be topped, and to this day I can't go to Disney. And we came home, and in October, Ricky had his bladder, prostate, urethra, all the surrounding lymph nodes, transverse colon, and something else removed. He had a stoma, his name was Stomy, where he had a bag, and he peed into his bag. He started pre-K. He thought it was the coolest thing in the world because he could write his name with his pee, and it looked really good. None of the other kids could do that. But we did go through a period after Ricky finished everything where he was clear. We started living, we enrolled in pre-K, we just did a whole lot of fun things, and then we got slapped in the face. I will tell you that during Ricky's second battle, when he had the surgery, from November 2nd until February 25th, I was home less than 20 days. Because Ricky would get every imaginable side effect to the chemo, except the common ones. So we had MRSA, staph, and C. diff, like people changed their underwear. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was immune to it. We were in quarantine for 5 weeks. At a year old, Erin got shipped out. I had to send her to Philadelphia to save my family because I couldn't be in 2 places at once. And he was so contagious, she couldn't be with us. It was very, very hard on me. But we got through it, and we had 6 amazing, no evidence of disease, cancer-free months until our 6-month scans. And I did not ask for these early, and I was blindsided and knocked down to the knees and had my breathing completely knocked out of me when the doctor came back and said, Ricky's cancer has metastasized to his lungs. And knowing what I knew about what we were dealing with, I knew at that moment I was going to bury my son. So we made a family pact. L3M2 became our motto: live, love, laugh, and make memories. Ricky never let it bother him. That's when we came to UGA. That September, soon after we were diagnosed, Ricky was invited to become a Miracle kid. And it was one of the most amazing experiences our family had ever dealt with. I've got pictures from different events that Miracle put on that I will treasure forever. The princess here, she gathered her court and still has them. We became very close with a lot of the students. You'll find out after we finish telling Ricky's story how he touched some students that are honoring him, and to this day I cannot explain to you how amazing that is for us. But I hate that y'all are only learning about Ricky this way, because he was awesome. Ricky took everything with a grain of salt. He was the chillest kid you'd ever meet. It was no big deal. I mean, pre-K, walked in and I had sent a letter home prior to him starting pre-K to the parents, explaining to them his situation, his circumstances. Because it's a little scary and undaunting when, you got a new kid there and things are very different. And if they had any questions, I gave my phone number and everything. And so the first day of school, we go in and I'm telling the kids about, explaining to them in kid terms. I mean, Ricky had a monster in his tummy, is how he understood it. So we gave him the kid talk, and he's like, just pulls up his shirt. See? Look at it. It's a pain. That thing would leak sometimes. It's nasty. But it was an experience. Children's made it possible for me to be a mom to both my kids at all times. We were never separated. If I wanted Erin there, she was there. One time we were in flipped it out of the crib. Little Miss decided she didn't want to be in the crib anymore. Y'all have been to children's, right? Those floors do not have padding. They're not soft. Erin flipped out of the crib in Ricky's room and landed on her head. So now Ricky's got to start his bolus, which is a 24 hours of fluid, so he get this one drug, which ultimately is the one that took him from me. And he has to have that started. Ricky was very much a child of consistency. He needed things done his way. We had routines and they had to be followed. And one of them was how he got his stuff, and it always involved me. Well, I'm down in the emergency room with Erin. There were only 3 other nurses. One of them, the other 2 were already on the floor with their own staff, and one of them was volunteer or picked up another shift in another area of the hospital. They had to get Ricky's chemo started, and he would not let nobody near him unless me or one of his girls, or girlfriends, which one? One of his girls was his girl.
Nancy was his girl.
Thank you. One of his girlfriends was right there with him. So what did children's do? They called in a nurse to pick up one of Ricky's girlfriends that was picking up a shift for somebody else, and brought her down to Aflac so that Ricky could get his bolus started. That was awesome, because they knew what was best for the child. Ricky never was in PICU until the very end, because when he had his surgery, he was scheduled to be in PICU for 3 days. After 8 hours in PICU, they knew he'd do better in his home, Aflac, so he moved to Aflac, out of PICU, because that's what was in his best interest. I cannot say enough about what Children's did for us. And sidebar, I was just at Children's Egleston for 3 days this week. Miss Thing decided that she needed to get a concussion for me. And I was
Okay, I got kicked in the head. That's not my fault.
Well, you just put your head in the footway of the steel toe boot.
She fell.
So anyway, Egleston still, that wasn't our home base, but I was pleasantly pleased with how we were treated. And the food wasn't all that bad either. So getting back to our family story, we lived, we laughed, we made a lot of memories. An amazing amount of memories. We took trips. He took a helicopter ride to the governor's mansion and met his whole staff. We ended up coming into the hospital May 4th of 2010 in heart and respiratory failure. Amazingly, Ricky beat those. They got his lungs functioning again. At this point, there were so many lesions they couldn't even count them. We were on palliative care, we knew the end was near. They put us in the PICU because there was a drug that could save his heart, and it did. But it could only be administered in the PICU. So we were in there and it worked, but the problem was that I mentioned the 24-hour fluid for the bolus that he had to take. His kidneys were shot. They'd been through enough. He'd been on adult strength chemo for 3 years, and he was just a baby. So we got discharged, or we got taken out of the PICU after they weaned him off the heart medicine. They waived all visitation. We had 60 people at a time in our room. It was the biggest party the hospital probably had seen and probably still hasn't seen. We had a blast. She was walking on the ceiling, hanging upside down in her dad's arms. We were throwing things everywhere. It was crazy. But I didn't want everybody coming to my house, and he had so many people that loved him. So May 17th, Ricky came home from the hospital to finish living. We did a helicopter ride. We took the turtles to play in the yard. Turtles are not slow. I don't care what anybody says, they are not slow. Ricky loved turtles. So I've got turtle tattoos. I have turtles all over my house. The hospital's nickname was Dr. Turtles. There was a picture I saw of one of the other families that are here of their child standing with a turtle outside of Scottish Rite. And that was a ritual. We would walk past that turtle and high-five it every time we walked into the hospital. He has 2 turtles at home, Dr. and Amy. They're going to outlive me, probably her and her kids. Unless I keep forgetting to clean them 10, which is a probability. Okay. So we finished living. We had people in and out of our house at all times. Family came from all over the country, and it was great. May 21st, Ricky's best friends, Alex and Kylie, from pre-K, came over. They are still my kids. To this day, Alex has moved 4 times. He still has the racetrack that was given to him after Ricky passed away. Kylie was Ricky's best friend. Kylie is my daughter from another mother, Aaron's big sister, and a leukemia survivor. So I don't get enough kicks. 4.5 years ago, I got a phone call at 12 o'clock at night that Kylie was just diagnosed with leukemia. And she is in remission and doing great. And if she didn't have to work, she would be standing right up here with us.
She actually just got to meet Eminem for her Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, she got that.
Wow.
So
That's such a cool Make-A-Wish.
May 21st, Ricky went into a coma after Alex and Kylie left. May 23rd at 11:07 p.m., about 11:06 actually, Ricky woke up and started fussing with his oxygen mask, and he took it off, and he looked at me, and I lied to my son. I told him that we would all be fine, and that it was okay, that he could go rest. And at 11:07 p.m. on May 23rd, Ricky took his last breath. He looked at me and said, "I love you, Mommy," and he flew away. We don't call it the cemetery, it's Ricky's heaven bed. And it's a beautiful tribute. Hospice did not get to our house to pronounce until May 24th, so I get kicked for 2 days. Because they get pronounced at 12:32 in the night. Ricky's pre-K graduation was May 27th that year, which was also the day of his funeral. And after Ricky's funeral and our celebration of his life, I attended his pre-K graduation.
and I watched Kylie and Alex walk. And all the kids gave me flowers. They did a beautiful tribute to Ricky. I am still extremely close with his pre-K teachers, his two best friends, all of his nurses, and several of the alumni that were blessed to have gotten to know Ricky. Milestones are really hard, and this is a hard year. On May 23rd will be Ricky's 13th Angel Date. On May 25th will be his high school graduation. And on June 1st will be his 18th birthday. The plan was to disappear, but life goes on. So on May 25th, instead of watching Ricky graduate, I will watch Kylie walk across the stage wearing her Ricky dance proudly. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to be up here today. And I'm not sure I'm going to make it across to Kylie's graduation, but I know I will. I don't want to, but I know I will, because Ricky is always here with us, and he is watching over every last one of you, and is so incredibly proud of what UGA and the Dance Marathon Network has done. Because of you, we speak at 5 colleges around here. We attend high schools. We have spoken up in Pennsylvania for fun at my high school where I'm from. Because of you, I have been inspired to continue the efforts. And I have gotten Sigma, who is my employer, who's a pretty big worldwide employer, and I've been with them for 30 years. They started fundraising to raise money for childhood cancer awareness about 8 years ago. And they don't quite have the numbers that y'all have, because there's no restriction, but we've raised over $50,000 in that time. And all of that stems from my experiences here, but because of my Ricky. They have identified a drug in Ricky's memory that is kicking rather violent ass. And he's making a difference still. And you inviting us back here year after year, I cannot tell you what an incredible, humbling honor it is, and I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to share my Ricky beyond my heart. Because every time I tell his story, and there are several out here who've heard it many times. I know I saw Kelly somewhere from that's in 2015, and she's heard it every year since. For her 4 years here and every year since then, and I don't think you've heard the same story twice. No? So I never know what I'm going to say when I come up here every time. It just depends on the crowd and y'all and what you trigger with me. And I just want to thank you for triggering and keeping him alive. And I've been told I've got to shut up because Aaron wants to say something.
Wow. I feel like every year I get older, it gets more emotional. This is gonna sound really bad at the beginning, but I promise there's a point. So my brother was my best friend. So I've been told. And I loved him, and I know he loved me. But I don't necessarily miss him. I miss the idea of him because I don't remember him. I don't remember what his voice sounds like. And I don't remember my own best friend. All I have is pictures. And because of what you guys are doing, people don't have to lose, sisters like me don't have to lose their big brothers. Because of what you guys are doing, it means so much to me that other people don't have to go through what I'm going through. Because there are so many milestones that I need my big brother for. And because of what you guys are doing and giving up your weekend, so many girls are gonna get that. And you have no idea how much that means to me. So thank you guys so much. You're all incredible.
Thank you so much for sharing your incredible and inspirational story with us. Hi, I'm Molly Masichuk, and I'm one of the Alumni and Parent Relations co-chairs this year.
And I'm Madison Seguin, the other alumni and parent co-chair.
We have the absolute incredible honor of being able to present the Ricky James Spirit Award. The Ricky James Spirit Award was created to honor a graduating senior that has participated in Miracle throughout their college career. The recipient must possess a zest for life and immense passion and kindness for others. They must be a leader that brings energy and joy to everyone they encounter and everything they do.
As you heard the James just share, Ricky was an amazing child who loved everyone. He had a contagious laugh and would light up and energize a room just by walking into it. The winner of this award is nominated by their peers in Miracle and voted on by the Alumni Board. Winning this award not only honors Ricky's memory and his family, but the recipient should be honored as well, as their character and enthusiasm for life have impacted everyone around them.
In even the smallest interaction with this girl, it is easy to see her passion for Miracle and positive outlook on life that is contagious. She is kind to everyone around her, uniquely dedicated to our cause, and more than deserving of this award. So, on behalf of the Executive Board, the UGA Miracle Alumni Board, the James family, and Miracle as a whole, it is my absolute honor to present this Ricky James Spirit Award to Gracie Thomas!